Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com and presented by MyBookie, where you can use promo code ROSTER. That will get you a 100% deposit bonus at mybookie.ag. Roster in all capital letters for a 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000. More on those guys later. My name is Alex Dunlap, here with Byron Lambert. It's the Week 6 waiver edition. Byron, we've made it to Week 6. What the hell's going on, brother?
Just love seeing my guy Madison up at top, man.
Yeah.
These things just always seem to come home to roost, and anytime we get to have a golden sun like that kind of rise to the top, man, it's fun for us because it's just kind of confirmation on all the work we do over all the years. And a guy like that was somebody that nobody else even cared about coming out of Boise, 2 years ago. And I mean, he's an important player in the league now, man, a really important player.
I almost had a bias against him just because of the other Boise guys that I've hated or felt like they've just been no good. But man, it's like you were always the original. You were the originalist on that guy. So yeah, it's good to see. What do we make of him this? I mean, he's going to get.
It might only be a 1 week play because it sounds like Dalvin will be out this week, and then they have a bye next week. So,
but it's Atlanta, and if you're 1-4, or you're 2-3, or something like that, we haven't done our initial rankings yet. Alexander Madison, a top probably 8 to 10 running back on the whole entire slate this next week. I haven't even looked at have they even done DraftKings pricing yet? Everything is so screwed up because I haven't been able to do the matchup tool like I would like to do today. I haven't been able to look at, our snap counts data hasn't gotten pulled yet just because our stat provider is not sending anything until all this week's games are over. And clearly that's fine. I mean, we need this game tonight before we can make the matchup tool. I'm just wondering if, with all the stuff that happened in daily this week with the different stat providers and everything, it looks like they have the millionaire maker up. So let me just look and see. What do you think Alexander Madison's pricing is next week? Whew. Okay. What's Alexander Madison's pricing? At home versus Atlanta.2 they're going to make you pay more than that. They're going to make you pay out the nose. 72. He's the 1, 2, and so Christian McCaffrey doesn't count here. Dalvin Cook doesn't count here because he's not going to go. Alexander Madison is the 3rd most expensive player on the slate on DraftKings at the running back position. It goes Aaron Jones at Tampa, which I don't want any part of. Derrick Henry at Houston at Derrick Henry, which I want all the parts of, and that's only $100 more than Madison. So I'm not sure I'm going to be playing Madison versus Atlanta. Actually, man, that's sharp. Back in the day, DraftKings would have made him 4,500, and that would have been a thing. But it isn't going to be a thing.
He got most of the action, and we've always said that he's one of the few guys in the league that's worthy of owning as a handcuff. Just simply because he's what we always say is a high efficiency yield handcuff. He's going to give you 80-90% of what Dalvin gives you. And I mean, it doesn't look the same as when Dalvin's in there, but when you look down at the box score, dude, his yards per carry are awesome. He can be involved in all phases of the game. I think you're right, Alex. If this is a must-win situation, you're going to have to pay up. If you're a Dalvin Cook owner, you're going to have to pay up. You have to be cognizant. It is probably a 1 week, play. But look, if you aren't a Cook owner and you have to pay up for him and use him this week, then maybe he's a guy you can package up and trade over the bye to a Dalvin Cook owner who would like that peace of mind. So you might be able to get a little bit of extra utility out of him that way if you get a little bit creative.
Yeah, for sure. So he's sort of in a tier all his own. I think people are going to be more interested this week as I get the sheet pulled up. The sheet is available to our pro members over at rosterwatch.com already, even though we don't have the snap counts. I would prefer to have the snap counts and the big tool available for these guys, but that's just how it goes this week, man. COVID, we can't do anything about this stuff. So we will we will just do what we can here with the data that we have available to us. But the cheat sheet is up. Alexander Madison is in sort of a tier of his own. Did you not think that? Just what did you think about Justin Jackson last night? What did you think about how that team looks without Austin Eckler? It was our first look at it. Boy, man, how awesome does Justin Herbert look like he's going to be, dude? He's just, I mean, I wouldn't have thought he was going to be this good just from watching him at the Senior Bowl and everything. We liked him. He was our all-Senior Bowl quarterback, but he looks great. And you guys in the chat, we'll get to a bunch of your questions. You guys have – look, man, if you have questions about trades and stuff, we'll try and get to a few of them. Just put them in here. The one thing I really want from y'all, though, in the chat is ask us about players that you might want to be dropping for some of these players that we're talking about. And that'll help me make a list at the very end that we can talk about whether or not to drop those guys. But Tristan Bratcher, Scott Kimmett, thanks, Scott Kimmett. I've noticed all your posts on our YouTube videos. We really do appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Tristan Bratcher, Kip C, Blue Crew, Shep. We will get to your questions here shortly, but let's kind of get over some of the players first. Byron, what did you think about him, Justin Jackson?
Well, first of all, you mentioned Herbert.
Yes.
I don't think there's a young quarterback in the league not named Patrick Mahomes that I would take over Justin Herbert if I was a NFL GM starting a team today. If we see any more of this, I don't even think I need to see any more. I'm pretty sure I know what we have, but I think that Justin Herbert is a better prospect than Josh Allen. He's a better prospect than Lamar Jackson. I think he at this point looks.
God, are you serious?
No question. He's a better version of Josh Allen. He's clearly a better passer than Lamar Jackson's ever going to be. A much bigger bodied guy too. To me, he looks every bit as good as Joe Burrow. We'll see. To me, it's not clear that Joe Burrow is a way better prospect at this point. So to me, Herbert is on the very shortly. Got Dak with an injury now. I would take Herbert over Kyler. If I see any more of this, I would take Herbert over Kyler if I was starting a franchise. So Tom Telesco, man, that guy, I think he cashed in big, man. This is big time what they've got going on.
What does this mean for the Dolphins? The Dolphins could have had him. There was talk that the Dolphins were going to take him. I mean, I
think it's just pressure to get Tua out there sooner than later.
Well, they're just pressure on Tua too, right? I mean, he's got to be good, man. Like
I think he will be, dude. I think it is so refreshing to the eyes to get these young live arms throwing the ball down the field into these games. It's just you could just see the difference between a guy who's even been playing 7-8 years in the league. It takes a little something out of the arm. These guys have so much snap and pop, and they can these big, just it's fun to watch, man. So I think Tua can play that exact style. And Parker, you see Preston Williams, he's on the sheet this week, Alex. I think we're starting to see Preston Williams maybe round into shape a little bit after the knee injury last year. I think maybe it's taking him a little bit of time. You got Gesicki. So we'll see. But Tua, I think, is going to look like a live, fresh arm. If you remember at Alabama, he's a guy that looked down the field, and I think he's got the players to do it. So I think we are officially on Tua watch, even though Fitzpatrick's doing just fine. And then as far as Justin Jackson, I guess, the way I look at that, Alex, is I make this sheet every week, and, it's so often that I see guys that, were begrudgingly at the top one week or another and so expensive, guys that a lot of times we talk about trying to avoid on here, and then weeks later you see him back at the bottom of the sheet again. So I know that Justin Jackson offers a lot of promise based on what we saw last night and the situation. I can see if you need somebody now, I can see getting aggressive after him, but just from my perspective, when you're looking at all the waiver pickups you've got to make over the entirety of the season, I think he's a priority, but I'd like to exercise a little bit of caution there. If it's a free agent budget situation, if it's just using a waiver priority, then, by all means, if you need a running back, I think you can pretty much do what you need to there.
It looks like I know we don't have the snap count tool up yet, which is so tilting to me, but I'm looking on the internal NFL communication site right now at the old school game books. It looks like Justin Jackson had 59% of the snaps, and Joshua Kelly only had 35% of the snaps. So
the other thing is, I think the Chargers are on bye this week, Alex. So
yeah,
you got to be, aware of what you're doing on the waiver wire. If that guy's not even going to be available to you this
Justin
week.
Jackson,
and it puts you 1 week closer to a Austin Eckler return.
Justin Jackson with 21 opportunities. I thought he looked like he was going to come in and maybe cuck Joshua Kelly just a little bit. It looked like that a little bit. It looked a little bit like that to me. So I'm a little bit worried about Kelly. If I can maybe trade him, I'm thinking about trying to trade him. But I'm interested in picking up Justin Jackson. I like the way that this offense is going with Justin Herbert. I think they're going to be better and better. And just seeing the snap count and seeing that he had 21 interactions. 21. He had 15 attempts for 71 yards, so he averaged 4.7 per attempt, and he had 5 receptions on 6 targets. That's gonna be a role that's. I mean, what if they think about Joshua Kelly? Like they're like he's gonna have the same role, and we're gonna have to see if Justin Jackson could be like Eckler. That would be. I mean, he'd be such a boon to pick up. So,
well, I think you're gonna have to wait over a week to even get to play him. You don't get him this week, so it's like you got to use a big waiver priority just to stash the guy. It's not like we don't know anything about Justin Jackson, and then Eckler is going to be back. I mean, it didn't sound like that timeline was going to be maybe as long as everybody initially feared. So put another week or two in the rearview mirror here, and you'll have a few weeks to capitalize on Justin Jackson. I guess the bigger question: can he steal Josh Kelly's role at some point to be the other guy that's in there when Eckler returns and maintain value rest of the season? That'll be interesting to watch.
Do you think that any of these other guys, at the running back position, of course, you can find them all at the waiver wire cheat sheet. Any of these guys at the running back position are sort of, who are more down the list, not in the same, free agent acquisition budget bid you've outlined as Alexander Madison, but these guys who are farther down, like in this same tier, you've put Justin Jackson. I would certainly think he belongs at the very top of that tier. I might even say, maybe somebody who I might go a little bit higher than 10% budget on, maybe 15% budget, just because I have a feeling that Anthony Lynn has a little something for Justin Jackson. He goes back to what he said at the Combine, where he said he's got the best intuition of any running back on the whole team. He said since then that this team is built, or he said before Joshua Kelly started to come on that a lot of this team's running game was going to be built around Justin Jackson and stuff. And he's been hurt. I have a feeling that we haven't seen the last of that guy as far as the land of fantasy football. But any of these other guys that are down here on the list that really get you up and excited, it feels like a pretty slim week to me. Besides Madison, and to me, I thought Justin Jackson would be maybe a little bit more of a priority than you did. But I do understand about the bye. I understand that this waiver wire cheat sheet, much like our dynasty cheat sheets, is always going to be tilted towards winning now, or in for dynasty rookie draft's sake, winning, that year for the waiver wire cheat sheet's sake, winning that week. We want to win now at Roster Watch. I get it. Are there any of these guys though that you like as deeper plays that we could be talking about next week as being way higher up on the sheet like we always talk about?
To me, the Madison Cook situation was just a reminder that if you own the other guys like Connor and Zeke and some of these other guys, it's a good week to circle back and see if you can get those handcuffs that maybe are out there on your wire because they lost value to anybody else that may have owned them in your league. And, I thought Trashman made an interesting point that in the Andy Dalton offense, he's curious whether Tony Pollard may be able to emerge as like a low-end flex himself with maybe an increase in touches and targets just to the running back position and maybe somebody who can be a little bit more of a Swiss Army knife there. I mean, it's a projection, but I thought that was an interesting take by the Trash Man this week.
What happened to Dalvin Cook is a reminder that these high efficiency yield handcuffs need to be owned. What's happening to Kenyon Drake right now with Chase Edmonds is a reminder that these guys need to be, there's only a few of them. It's Pollard, it's Madison, it's Edmonds, it should have been Mike Davis, It will be Mike Davis now when Christian McCaffrey comes back. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Are there who are the others that are just the must own? I mean,
well,
I wouldn't
Latavius Murray had been one, but he's become a standalone flex,
right,
so he's owned. Pretty frequently.
Yeah. So Latavius would be. I think there was somebody else who I couldn't think of, but it was certainly Latavius. So, yeah, make sure that those guys are picked up and owned. Let's move over to the wide receiver spot. And to you guys in chat, man, we are going to get to your questions. You have a bunch of good questions. We're going to get to them. And for anybody that's tuned in since I last said it, if you have questions about guys you can maybe drop for some of these players, or you're not sure, you're on the fence about whether or not you should drop them, please let us know, and we will answer those here at the end of the podcast before we get out. But first, it's fall, and at MyBookie, that can only mean one thing. It's winning season. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means free bets, super contests, Survivor, and more. At MyBookie, winning season is all about your chance to win big. Bet NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, UFC, and then some. The craziest sports fall of your lifetime is here. It's simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash. Invest in your intuition. Select from hundreds of futures bets, or you can bet games in real time with MyBookie's live betting. Put that big brain of yours to use. Use promo code ROSTER and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Thousands of cross-sport wagers, props, and parlays await. Sign up now to bet with the best and celebrate your victory. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie. So here's the deal one more time. New customers receive a 100% deposit match, which is double your first deposit, up to $1,000. Put in $100, get an extra $100 to play with, up to $1,000, but only when you use the promo code ROSTER at MyBookie. All right. Wide receivers. I know they're all in a tier, but I couldn't believe that this guy's asking, did Alex just wake up? No, I just picked up I've been dealing with my kids. Wait till you have a 2 and a 5-year-old Michael Yeager. Fuck asshole. I just couldn't. I know it's all the same tier, but I just can't believe that Chase Claypool wasn't at the very top after going absolute God mode. I know it's just the same for all of them, but I figured you would put him at the top just to make a statement. Would you not have him number one as your priority this week at the wide receiver spot? Let's say you're not doing a free agent budget. Let's just say you have waiver priority.
No, I don't have a number one.
Okay.
If we find out that Deontay Johnson, if Deontay Johnson we don't have that information. If I knew Deontay Johnson's status, if he's like injured and out for a while or even for a week, especially with the bye in the rearview mirror, then I think, yeah, you can make an argument that Claypool lives at the top. I'm a little bit worried that if Deontay Johnson's not like injured significantly, that there's just, there's a lot of good players on that offense, right? Like you could throw it to Juju, you can get it to Deontay, you can get it to Claypool, who's emerging now. You still got Washington, who gets in there and does something every once in a while. So that was kind of my thought. I certainly the big explosion, and I think you can make a strong argument. He deserves to be a starter. Like he should be a starter. It probably should be him and Deontay, or him and Juju, and then the other guy in the slot, right? So I think there's a pretty strong argument for that. Maybe you can take a look at the snap counts, Alex, like you said. That data is a little bit slow to come in with the week, kind of a day behind so far. But Juju
played more. Juju played more snaps, and I understand that it's been because he's out. You guys in the chat, let me know if you guys are having any trouble hearing Byron. I can hear him, but his computer's freezing up. So let me know if you can't hear him, so we can put a pause on this and just get his connection better. But I think they could probably hear you because I can hear you. But I just want to make sure because you keep freezing. And I was looking at it earlier and I saw, man, it's weird. They had him. All right, so they're all saying that you're good. Thank you guys for that. The weird thing, like they had him running a bunch out of the slot. If you go look at the PFF stuff, I just wonder. I think I just don't know what they were doing with him or what they were doing with Juju or how this is going to work or how it works when Deontay comes back or if like, how do you put the genie back in the bottle? I mean, how do you not just look at him?
I don't think you
just
do, but I don't think you just say you're going to just throw your hands up in the air and change everything you were doing or planning on doing. Look, he could be at the top. He's in the top tier. I think there's some discretion there. Alex, I always expect you to be excited anytime Henry Ruggs is at the top.
Oh no, I mean I am. But I was just wondering if that's like the way that you would do, because it's tough, like Ruggs if he's available. And dude, Ruggs has been dropped in leagues. We've had questions here. It's like we asked for you guys to give us the names of players that we're going to be talking about, maybe dropping and stuff. Henry Ruggs was getting asked about a lot, especially when he was hurt. Like he's available in a lot of leagues. Thankfully, I didn't drop him. It certainly hurt to. I can't believe I didn't think about the fact beforehand that Gruden's going to shove it in. He's going to try and shove it in Andy Reid's face once that he's got a really fast dude like Tyreek too. I can't believe I didn't think about that before the game. But so I should have played him more in DFS, especially in those KC Raiders stacks. Regardless, that's yeah. So yeah, I like picking it. It's pretty tilting, right? I didn't even think about it. I truly should have had that thought. I truly should have.
My thought was that Henry Ruggs is pretty clearly a starter for the Raiders the rest of the way. And to me, that's why he deserved to be a top, But he only got, 3 targets. So as Trashman said, that game could just as easily be 3 targets for 17 yards as it is 3 targets for 100 and change and a touchdown. So you're going to kind of live and die by that sword with Henry Ruggs, but he needs to be owned, man. Like, he's a nuclear flex option or a really solid wide receiver 3. Look, he could become a Hollywood Brown for you. All you need are about 6 targets a game to get to that level. And that's a very nice wide receiver 3 right now.
Yeah. And the Raiders look like they're actually a team this year. It's crazy, man. It's really wild. I still can't believe that they beat the Chiefs. Okay. It feels odd even saying that, like it was a thing that actually really did happen. What do you think about some of these other guys up here at the very top? I mean, we talked about Ruggs, we talked about Claypool. It's actually it seems like you think it's a pretty good week on the waiver wire.
It's an awesome week on the waiver wire for wide receivers. And I don't even think you have to go crazy. And it's an awesome week for all the young guys. So that gets us excited. I mean, to me, it's clear as day that T. Higgins is the number 2 in Cincinnati at this point.
He's going to be the number 1 soon.
Yeah, on his way to number 1. None of that's up for debate. Burrow looks awesome. So Higgins absolutely needs to be owned. We were already getting a little more pumped about Mecole Hardman. Now we have the news that Sammy Watkins could miss a few weeks with a hamstring. If you need a guy to play right now, I think it's an awesome play to get Hardman in, sans Sammy Watkins. And then, I just can't believe that Laviska Shenault continues to be this available on the waiver wire week after week after we come on here and talk about it till we're blue in the face, man.
Hey, man, just let's get back to Claypool for just a minute, though, because it's like, was there something that we missed or something that Matt Kelly and all of us missed at the Senior Bowl with this guy? I mean, I know that I missed he was this fast. He did not play this fast as he tested. When he tested that fast, we said, shit, that's crazy. I would have never in a million years guessed that guy ran sub 4.5 based on what we saw at the Senior Bowl. I don't think anybody saw this coming from Claypool, which kind of brings me back to the idea of like, well, what can this really tell us? I mean, should it tell us something about Philly's secondary, maybe? Should it tell us that maybe they're using him in a way that we just didn't foresee happening? Like, should it tell us that maybe we should tap the brakes on Claypool a little bit because we don't want to just throw away all of our priors? I mean, he looked like a monster. I couldn't believe. I mean, he scored 4 touchdowns. It's like
it tells me that if I ran an NFL franchise and I wanted to learn how to draft wide receivers, that I would go and study everything that the Pittsburgh Steelers do, everything Kevin Colbert does. They are the savants of the entire league when it comes to drafting and developing wide receivers. It's one after the other. Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders,
Mike
Juju,
Waller,
Deontay, Martavis Bryant. There's other ones I'm not even thinking about at this point. So, I think we've seen there is a Martavis Bryant role that they've had in that offense.
He kind of looks like Martavis, but he's like so much
thicker.
bigger.
He's like a tank, dude. So here's my thing about Claypool is that I do think he underperformed a little bit at the Senior Bowl, but he was one of those guys that got better every day and as the week progressed.
And he was better during the red zone. He was better in red zone.
We've had a long history of those guys who maybe had a slow start at the Senior Bowl, so they came out somewhat unheralded. But you look back and you always remember, like, that was one of those dudes that got better every day, had a good, just had a good progression through the week. I think that was always true with Claypool. My hang up with him, and I'm impressed with the NFL because they did it with Antonio Gibson too. They've done the right thing with these players this offseason. To my surprise, is I was just worried he was going to be miscast. I mean, you heard all the talk about a tight end and these things, and in a deep class, it's hard to, what are you going to do with a guy like that in your rankings? But so I think maybe there's some things we missed on Claypool, but I'm not surprised. I think he's the real deal, and I'm not surprised. I think we saw enough at the Senior Bowl that we shouldn't be surprised that he's turned out to be this good.
All right. Well, I'm not doing this just to appease our carnival barking friend here, Michael Yeager, in the comments, but he's saying he's an Eagle. That's an Eagles fan, 35. So he wants to hear all about Travis Fulgham, and he was where I was going to go next. But now this is the one that I don't get it. I don't understand what happened. I don't understand what that was. I honestly feel like I left my body or something, and I came back, and Travis fucking Fulgham of all people had 10 receptions for 150 something yards, and this guy's, was he cut from the Lions practice squad at some point this year? Like, I had to go back after we were on our text chain with Matt Kelly last night talking about Fulgham. So last night or the night before, I forgot. But I go back and I went back through my actual Senior Bowl notes about Travis Fulgham just to see what it was what it was I'd said from the Senior Bowl. Byron, I couldn't find a note on it. I couldn't.
Was he Old Dominion? Where was he from?
ODU. I think I wrote ODU wide receiver at some point. But it's like, what happened? What happened? Like, it felt like I said, it felt like an out-of-body experience. What happened? Travis Fulgham?
I don't know, man. But it just goes to show that you can't, all those guys that get invited to the Senior Bowl are pretty good these days, right?
That's true.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't just totally write any of them off,
He was a Jim Nagy guy, so I think the Nagy guys have been a lot better. It's gotten consistently better. I just, they're asking why does Wentz have more success with no names than actual names at wide? It's because he hasn't had any names. I don't know. It's because Carson Wentz is like last year what he was able to do with that group of wide receivers. It's actually in context pretty good that he's been able to be this good with such bad receivers. I just don't know. Can you break the bank for Travis Fulgham? They're going to get back Alshon Jeffrey. I'll bet you they'll get back D-Jax, at some point. Can you really?
And Rager too. That's
Rager. He's got the UCL. I don't feel like Travis Fulgham's a guy who you're going to be able to pick up and just think that he's not going to do this every week. Like this, I think it would be crazy to assume such a thing.
Yeah, but I think he's worth a stab at this point, right? So once you're down to that part of your waiver wire where it's basically just a prayer, you're just taking a shot on somebody. I think he's one of the guys you're going to have to look at, man. You want him, you want the Nelson Aguilars, you want the
I don't want the Nelson Aguilar.
Maybe you want the Alshon Jeffries. I mean, I suppose you could argue for the Preston Williams with who the hell knows what's about to happen with his quarterback situation.
Trashman says you need Christian Kirk.
I picked up Christian Kirk off of waivers in our league. It's so funny, man. I got swindled on – I had to freaking drop Mike Williams last week, which I had a plan to pick him up on Friday, and somebody picked him up off of waivers, surprisingly. Curious to go back and see who that asshole dropped to pick up. He must have had some trash at the bottom of his bench. But in the other league, I picked up Christian Kirk off of waivers, and I actually played him. I told you, I mean, we'll see. I don't think you can get too excited about Kirk, but I felt like the arrow was pointing in the right direction last week, and this was another good building block on top of that. So I think Kirk is coming into viability as low-end wide receiver 3 or a flex play, and it's like Trashman said, he's the second best wide receiver on the team. So it looks like they're about to start potentially utilizing that way.
I can't believe it. So we were already getting inactives for this game's it's 6 tonight, huh? We got to get. We're getting inactives. So, and it's a good reminder. Actually, I just got that alert from the. I just got that alert from the Fantasy Life app. And guys, one of the smartest things you can do is download the Fantasy Life app. It's a free app. We use them for their news alerts, their community. I just now found out that it looks like, it's an hour and a half away. So this game is a 6:00 game. That means I got to go to DraftKings and go reserve my showdown entries ASAP. Look, we use them for their news alerts, their community. Byron has been doing stuff in there where he goes in there and has AMAs where you can ask him questions and things like that. Who's that guy you were doing it with last week, Byron? One of the Fantasy Life dudes.
Yasin Abick. He's the CEO of Fantasy Life.
Yeah.
He's Matthew Berry's handpicked CEO to run that company, and he's the point man. And so I've been right there with him. It's a big audience they have over there at Fantasy Life, and what we do is we do a Friday afternoon breaking news analysis. As that news is coming in from Friday practices, we're getting a lot of important information for the weekend slate. So we got live analysis of that as it's coming in, and then we also go through the matchups, break them down, and take some questions as well. So definitely, you guys, encourage you download the Fantasy Life app. You can find me RosterWatch _ Byron. I'm verified on the Fantasy Life app. I'd appreciate a follow.
Well, why don't you get me verified? You guys can find me on there. I'm at Hype Machine, which is the moniker I use for the different various fantasy contests that I play in. So Byron is what? RosterWatch _ Byron.
Yeah, maybe we'll get you a roster. We'll get you a. We'll work on yours, Alex.
Okay.
It's like it's like a Twitter of fantasy. It's like a dedicated, Twitter for fantasy. Basically, it's like a dedicated social media for fantasy, and the news is amazing. They got a great community. They make sure it's. They don't have a bunch of junk. People aren't talking trash over there. It's a good place to hang out, man. So. We're happy to be doing a bunch of stuff over there.
Yeah, and it's free. So, if you download it and you don't like it, which you won't if you're watching this kind of content, just delete it. It's but just go give it a try. All right. Any more of these wideouts, or do you just want to quickly go through any of the tight ends, and then we can get to some of these questions from the different people who have left them in the chat here?
I think that we can keep moving along. I maybe the last guy I'd mention is, it was good to see the Brandon Cooks breakout. We knew it was coming. Got nervous it might not happen. Always knew it was going to be difficult to pinpoint. It was going to happen on your bench, unfortunately.
After you had him in the week before for a fucking goose egg.
So we'll see how reliable it is, but I like having – I've told you, I've watched those games. He looks pretty good to me. I think it's been a chemistry thing with Watson, and he's getting the targets and the snap counts. I like him being connected to Deshaun Watson. He's an interesting wide receiver 4 to have on your team right now that you're feeling a little bit better about.
Okay. And then, as always, you guys can find the tight ends and the quarterbacks and everything like that just right there on the list as far as streaming defenses, et cetera, et cetera. Go to rosterwatch.com, get a pro membership. That's how all of this is. This is how all of this is possible. So we definitely appreciate all you guys. And I know a bunch of you guys in chat are definitely, pro members. And so thank you guys. And if you're not, just go check us out over there. We would really appreciate it. We're a small, independent, American-owned company. All right. Questions. Here we go. Just quick. We'll just go through some of these. Tristan Bratcher has Mike Davis. Somebody offered him Kenyon Drake. Should he take it or leave it? Knowing that, Christian McCaffrey's going to be back next week. At this point, you just kind of hold on to Kenyon Drake. Chase Edmonds should take his job, but the thing that's keeping them from not taking his job is that he is. They're giving the work to Kenyon Drake. They're giving him the work, not the targets, but the work. Would you trade?
It's a committee. Are we guaranteed that Christian McCaffrey is going to be back next week?
He's just such a baller. They're playing well, right? What are they, 3-2? Are they 3-2?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the report that he was that close to coming back. I thought
maybe it could be another week or two.
That to me, that would all be about trying to. I'd be most interested in trying to win now. And
you just don't want the Drake headache. All right, yeah. So wait to find out more. To me, winning now is more important than try to get like Drake as a stash on your team. But if you think that Davis's values about to evaporate, then obviously yes, you should trade it for Kenyon Drake. Okay, these are questions about players they can drop. Says the first this guy's saying that he misses the garbage grab on the Sirius show. We don't have time for that garbage grab on Sunday mornings, man. Let's see. Alex, just wake up. And somebody says that they need to drink some wine with Byron. I think if you want to drink wine, you probably want to come around Lake Travis and meet up with Alex. Let's see.
I've been drinking a lot of those whites though these days, white wines these days. Alex always told me, he said, man, you'd have a little turning point in the evolution of your appreciation for wine someday. Will you graduate to the white wines, and it's true. So counterintuitive, but
it just happens.
And it's hard to go back. Actually,
it happens in your kind of middle late 30s, and you start really loving Chardonnay. Let's see. So this guy's Omar F. His running backs are Mixon, Eckler, Bell, McKinnon, and Justin Jackson. Would you trade away Darren Waller for Antonio Gibson? He also has Robert Tonyan. He has Mixon, Eckler, Bell, McKinnon, Justin Jackson. If he has Tonyan, I wouldn't mind picking up Gibson.
I'd rather keep Waller. Can you take Tonyan and one of those other running backs and go get Gibson?
That's what you do. See if you can go Tonyan plus McKinnon or something like that for Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I was asking if they could hear you. They say they can hear you fine. Keelan Cole, is he a thing now? He's getting targeted. I'm not interested in Keelan Cole. We saw what DJ Chark was capable of before he kind of got banged up again when they gave him 9 targets in week 4. So I'm not sure that, Keelan Cole is not too far on my radar. I think he's somewhere on the cheat sheet though.
He's on the sheet. I think the main thing is just you have to monitor DJ Chark's status.
Yeah.
Keelan Cole is a little bit of a thing in Jacksonville. He is, but not really in fantasy unless the circumstances are just right. So you don't want to chase his points, but he's a desperation guy that you can reasonably take a look at.
Is Hollywood Brown for Juju a good trade if he has Juju? That's from Connor Nero 15.
I'd rather have Hollywood Brown. That's a bizarre trade. I don't know. Those trades don't go down unless one side thinks they're ripping the other side off, or unless there's a buy situation you're trying to reconcile, like somebody can't swallow somebody's upcoming buy. But those intra-positional one-for-one trades, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
outside of those situations.
I don't like those trades, and I hate even answering questions about them because it goes against what.
But wouldn't you take Hollywood Brown if that was came across your desk? Wouldn't you take Hollywood Brown? I would. You're not ripping anybody off, but I think I would take Hollywood Brown. Maybe depends on Deontay's status. If you find out Deontay Johnson,
I view those two assets. I view those two guys as pretty similar. How much I value them. What the this Omar F is giving you a shout out for the James Robinson scouting. He's saving his bacon. Yeah, that was good work. Antonio, that wasn't just Byron too, though. That was like I was at this combine telling. Okay. Hey, Michael Yeager finally. Okay, 12-team dynasty superflex. A bunch of Antonio Gibson trade. Antonio Gibson and Tua for Russell Wilson in superflex. His only other starter is Matt Ryan, but he could use he could use a Gibson.
If you can get that done, hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think what that guy's remembering, Alex, is when I piped in from Jaguars camp, and this is just when we were talking about how we thought James Robinson was going to make the team, and that was like big news.
Way out there.
At that point, that wasn't even on anybody's radar. We were like, dude, he's going to make the team, I promise you, is what I was saying that day. And so I think that's what that listener remember.
All right, let's go through some of these names. Can you drop them? Damian Harris.
No.
Okay. DeAndre Swift.
If you have to, you begrudgingly. He's a stash.
If you wanted Madison.
Oh, yeah.
What if you wanted Justin Jackson?
I'd have to have a real plan for Justin Jackson. I think it's fine, but you have a plan for Justin Jackson. He's got a bye week. Like, make sure you know what you're going to be doing with him if you're going to go out of your way to do something with him.
I have a feeling we're going to be talking about Justin Jackson again. Malcolm Brown.
He can be dropped, it looks like. It's a three-headed monster.
Sammy Watkins.
You can drop him. If he's got a hamstring injury and he's going to miss any more than a week, you can drop him.
Somebody asked about John Brown.
Are we getting news that he's not active tonight? He was probable with the calf.
I didn't have it. I just saw that the inactives came in, and I just made note of the fact. Let me just look at it. I'll pull up the Fantasy Life app here. Bills inactives. Zach Moss, Jake Fromm, John Brown's inactive. Yep.
I would prefer not to drop John Brown. He's been good before the injury, and Josh Allen is on fire. So if you can keep John Brown, to me, I mean, unless it's like an 8-team league, I mean, he's got value. He could at least be a throw-in on a trade to a team who can stomach his situation right now.
Would you drop T. Higgins to pick up Henry Ruggs or Chase Claypool?
No.
What about Robert Tonyan? Would you drop him to pick up any of those guys not named Madison?
Yeah. If I needed a wide receiver, I would.
Is Hunter Renfrow droppable now that Ruggs is back?
Yep.
Is Mark Ingram droppable?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess there could be extenuating circumstance where he is, but I don't think that's mainstream just yet.
What about Golden Tate?
Fuck Golden Tate. Yeah, he's droppable.
That's the show. That's the show. All right. That'll be it. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube, man. I'm going to get this up on the podcast players. ASAP. Go to rosterwatch.com. Find all of our content there. We always appreciate your support. Love you guys, man. We will see. Byron will see you back here, I guess, tomorrow at some point for the trade cast. I had to miss this last week with the DFS breakdown, but I'll be back doing it here for week 6. So until next time. Love